For millennia, alien civilizations studied Christmas as a harmless human ritual of lights, gifts, and fragile sentimentality, until a single forbidden discovery revealed it was never about celebration at all, but about a power so dangerous that every non-human species in the galaxy was legally barred from participating, not to protect humans from aliens, but to protect the universe from what humans become when Christmas is truly understood. For more than 5,000 standard cycles, the Galactic Concordance upheld an unbreakable directive known only as Prohibition Thetarad, a law older than most star systems and enforced with absolute unanimity across species that otherwise shared nothing in common, and this law stated with chilling clarity that no non-human intelligence, regardless of technological maturity, spiritual inclination, or cultural compatibility, was ever permitted to observe, imitate, simulate, or emotionally participate in the human phenomenon known as Christmas, a ban that baffled generations of xenoanthropologists who had long catalogued humanity as volatile yet statistically insignificant, emotionally expressive yet strategically primitive, and whose festivals appeared to be nothing more than nostalgic echoes of tribal bonding, yet the prohibition endured even as empires collapsed and stars dimmed. And it was not until the archivists of the Aurelian Continuum quietly broke protocol during a silent observation cycle above Sol 3 that the truth began to surface, because what they recorded was not a holiday but a recurring anomaly in human behavior where contradiction transformed into unity and perceived weakness evolved into a weapon, as Christmas, stripped of ornament and myth, functioned as a synchronization event in which billions of humans temporarily aligned around a shared narrative of hope, sacrifice, forgiveness, and belonging, concepts most alien species had discarded as inefficient or illogical long before achieving interstellar travel, and during this alignment something unprecedented manifested within the human cognitive field, a measurable resonance detected only during this narrow temporal window when humans willingly suppressed self-interest and elevated collective meaning, generating a low-frequency emotional signal that propagated through subspace itself, subtle enough to evade casual detection yet powerful enough to distort probability matrices and make statistically impossible outcomes suddenly plausible, and this was not speculation but documented history, because concordance archives revealed that the earliest form of interstellar contact with humanity did not occur through ships or signals but through this resonance, a ripple of shared intent that brushed neighboring dimensions and alerted ancient civilizations to a species capable of bending reality not through force or calculation but through belief reinforced by communal ritual. And those civilizations learned the cost of underestimating it during the first observational breach, when a minor research collective attempted to replicate Christmas within a controlled non-human population, assuming the ritual could be extracted like code and universally applied, yet the experiment failed catastrophically as the participants, lacking the evolutionary scars that defined humanity, centuries of suffering, loss, hope, and moral struggle, experienced cognitive overload when confronted with concepts such as unconditional generosity and redemptive sacrifice, resulting in identity collapse, mass hysteria, and eventual cultural implosion, leading to the realization that Christmas was not a transferable tradition but a compression of the entire human story into a single symbolic event, one that depended on the uniquely human capacity to hold grief and joy simultaneously without self-destruction, and it was then that the concordance grasped the true danger, because if a non-human species ever succeeded in genuinely celebrating Christmas, it would require them to internalize human emotional paradoxes at a scale capable of destabilizing entire civilizations or, worse, weaponizing empathy into a strategic force that could bypass shields, treaties, and logic itself. And the archives recorded numerous near-miss scenarios in which alien commanders observed human soldiers cease fire during Christmas truces, exchange gifts with enemies, or perform acts of irrational mercy that altered the trajectory of wars, not because of tactical advantage but due to an internal moral override triggered by the season, and when this override was mapped it revealed a pattern. Humans were capable of suspending the rules of survival itself in favor of meaning, a trait no algorithm could reliably predict and no simulation could fully constrain, rendering them fundamentally uncontrollable during this period, which is why the concordance revised humanity's classification from emerging threat to anomalous constant, acknowledging that while humans could be conquered, exploited, or even eradicated, their ideas, especially those activated by Christmas, could not, and the forbidden reason behind the ban became painfully clear when a preemptive strike against Earth was quietly cancelled after analysts projected a 92% probability that humanity, when faced with extinction during the Christmas cycle, would not respond with surrender or despair but with a unified narrative of sacrifice that would echo across allied and neutral systems alike, inspiring resistance movements, moral defections, and spontaneous alliances among species previously incapable of cooperation, effectively transforming humanity into a symbolic martyr whose destruction would galvanize the galaxy against its aggressor, and so Christmas was classified as a mimetic singularity, a self-reinforcing myth engine that converted suffering into purpose and loss into cohesion, and aliens were forbidden from celebrating it not because it was sacred in a religious sense but because it was dangerous in a strategic one, a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was neither technology nor intellect but their ability to ritualize hope in the face of despair, to gather around fragile symbols and believe together strongly enough to reshape outcomes. And the final clause of Prohibition Thetared stated that if any non-human intelligence ever felt a sincere desire to celebrate Christmas, it was to be considered evidence of irreversible humanization, at which point the individual was no longer classified as alien but as something else entirely, a warning written not in fear but in respect, because the concordance had learned through bitter observation that Christmas was not a celebration humans needed in order to survive, but one the universe needed humans to have. And as long as they continued to gather under lights in the darkness, telling stories of kindness against all evidence, the galaxy could never fully predict them, never fully control them, and never entirely extinguish the strange, terrifying, and beautiful force that emerged when humans remembered who they were together, which is why even now, as humanity unknowingly celebrates beneath indifferent stars, alien civilizations observe in silence, not with mockery or curiosity but with caution, because they finally understand that Christmas is not a holiday, it is a quiet declaration that no matter how cold the universe becomes, humans will always choose meaning over emptiness, and that choice is the most forbidden power of all.